heartfelt welcome to join our Heart Intelligence Ambassadors podcast. We are your Heart Intelligence Ambassadors.
Thanks for joining us today, and we are going to talk about heart intelligence, what we see and feel that it is, and also we talk about inner peace and peace of mind.
And also what it means when you don't have peace of mind. And I think both of us, at least, we are experts also in that area where we haven't felt the peace inside.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so should we start by talking about perfection and expectations? And I think both of us, we have very recently just realized, well, I'm not perfect. And what a relief.
And also as a background, we both are yoga teachers and work in that field. And as often it might come from inside, but we create those expectations in our own head that we, as a yoga teacher, should be always calm, in peace, and perfect people, guiding other people through the practice. And yeah, that's not how it works because we're all human.
Exactly. And I think for very long I was kind of thinking that other people put this expectation on me. Maybe that's partially true, that people do have expectations. But I, as you said, Liisa, I think the main point is that I put those expectations on myself and I tried to be perfect. And I even thought for actually probably almost my whole life that I'm not allowed to have certain emotions. Like being angry, I thought that no, that's not part of, and especially it's not part of being a yoga teacher. You cannot have these anger emotions, and that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, and that's true because we often create those thoughts in our head. We believe that this is what someone is expecting from us. Even people around us maybe create a little bit of turbulence, a little bit of something around us. But in the end, it's only ourselves who can decide how are we acting, what are we thinking, and our thoughts are also creating our reality. So often I have found myself in a situation where I believe that I have those expectations from someone, but in the end I've realized that I've actually created them in my own head because I have thought that this is what my colleagues or my boss or my partner or my business partners are thinking, and this is how I should be acting. And in a way, funnily enough, I feel like I've been trying to maintain their peace of mind and at the same time pleasing them, therefore losing my own peace of mind. How funny is that? So it's not easy. It's somewhat complicated. However, in the end, life is really simple too. So
yeah, and I think that all of us, we have some sort of roles that we play, and some of them we are aware of, and some of them we are not aware of. Like the yoga teacher role, supposed to be like always peaceful and calm and not have any emotions, kind of thinking, and that's just not how it works. And then we both also been in the business world earlier. I've studied political sciences and I ended up working in an insurance company for nearly 10 years. And that also kind of has this, it was also a kind of role I felt that I was playing. And of course you have to behave in a certain way to some extent when you are in the or depending on the environment where you are at. But maybe it comes all down to it, that we just have to be ourselves and that should be sufficient.
Absolutely. And I think, as you said, that of course you in particular industries. I come from marketing and business background as well, from advertising world. And of course, you have some roles and expectations, obviously, because you are working for someone else. And that's fair enough. But also, in a way, how would I say it? There is a lot of that ego involved as well, like our own ego. At least I'm talking about myself now, trying to be good enough, trying to please people, trying to be perfect, do things well, work harder, work even harder, and just, I think that's perfection. Like I have been, and I might still am perfectionist. Yeah, that's what it is actually.
It is.
Yeah,
and then and now I'm what immediately comes up in my mind. I can also to some extent also say that I strive for perfection in some areas of life. And personally, I feel that it comes down to this. Actually, you also mentioned about this people pleasing and perfection, and it perhaps that walks hand in hand with just the need that I think we all of us have inside of us, that we want to be accepted and we want to be loved. And I think that's really, I really can feel like inside of me, I have this little girl who's just looking at the world and thinking, can you just please love me? And can you just please accept me just the way I am?
And as you said earlier, it should be sufficient just to be ourselves. And most often people will love us the most when we are our true selves and show our vulnerability as well. But we built that kind of wall around us to hide it, just trying to please and be better, that people would love us. But in the end, it will come down that just be yourself. And if that's enough, too bad.
And then I wonder, does it already come from like when you're a child and you try to, all of us, we just want to have mommies and daddies' love and attention. And also perhaps we have other peers around us and we want just everyone, again, to see us and hear us for the way we are. And maybe we already then start to learn kind of models and how to behave just to get that attention from those around us.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have inherited thought patterns, especially behavioral patterns, and whether we want it or not, we pick them up from our parents, they have picked them up from their parents, and so on. And I believe all of us have possibly had those moments when sometimes you realize like, oh my God, I did just remind myself like I was just acting like my mom or my dad or saying something or doing something.
Yeah.
But even in a deeper level, unconsciously, that happens. Like we don't often even realize that we keep acting and behaving particular ways. We kind of go around the circles and we find ourselves in the same situation in a life all over again and again. And often some of those behavioral patterns we have inherited from our childhood, whether it's our parents or people who have had an influence in our life. And that's something, I guess, whether we notice that consciously, we all have those things. And that's something I've been digesting lately, let's say for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And finally start coming into some sort of realization that...
Absolutely. I had this in 2013, I was in Bali and I attended this kind of retreat or training. And we visited this healer, this local Balinese healer, and I asked him that I had felt so long that I was stuck in my throat and perhaps also like a little bit in my chest. I couldn't quite put the finger on it. What is it? But I felt that it's something in my communication, like from inside out, that's not in alignment with who I really am. And I felt that on some level. So I asked this healer, there was a guide there as well, because he didn't speak any English, but I explained that I feel stuck in my throat. And then he actually he had a special stone, and he did like this cross mark on my throat, and then some incense and some mantras and whatever he was doing for a while. And then he said, made the mark, like, okay, now you're ready. I was like, really? And this is it? and nothing happened. I thought, well, okay. Until the next morning, I woke up and I was sharing the hotel room with a friend called Anne. She's from Holland. And I woke up and I was like, oh my fucking God. And I was swearing, I'm sorry. I said, now I see what's been going on, like for my whole life. And I felt stuck because I hadn't. That was exactly what I realized in that moment after the healer treatment, that I have not been able to show who I really am to the world. I had always tried to put this kind of better appearance towards other people, that I felt that I couldn't show those most vulnerable and worst parts of myself to the world because I was really afraid to be rejected.
And do you feel that you act differently within different people? Like when you are with your old colleagues, you put that kind of mask on. When you are with someone else, even with different friends sometimes, friends with the different values. Like I don't do it anymore, I believe, but I've totally noticed that sometimes it happens that I'm talking slightly differently. And because it's also maybe, I guess we're both really sensitive people and we can kind of, in a way, feel and read people's energies.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's a good thing, but it can be kind of a little bit challenging sometimes as well, when you have this tendency to please people, be nice to everyone, get everyone's acceptance. And I've noticed I've done that a lot, that like, okay, I'm doing it again. I'm with these people in this company. So I keep agreeing or talking about something in a slightly different way because I guess I want this person to still like me.
Yes.
And even we've been friends for a long time, like people wouldn't give a shit. Like seriously, that's you. And you know that person since you've been something. Doesn't matter, like, do I need to be that academic, high educated person within this company and then with someone else I can be a beach bum? Like, seriously, what the hell?
I'm sorry to say, like, even if I had like the realization in 2013 that I've been doing this like pretty much my whole life, I have not been able to rid myself totally of the tendency to please other people. I do agree. Same with me. And you asked if I still have, like, if I act differently towards different people, then unfortunately I have to answer yes, because but the thing is, maybe I'm more aware of it now, that I'm holding back something from this person just because it always comes down to this, that, I just want you to like me.
I think, to be honest, I'll do same. Like, for a little while I've been aware of it, and I guess I still caught myself every now and then doing it.
Yeah.
However, in these days, I don't really see anyone because I've been way too busy to catch up with my friends. But
So I think the key is just to slowly get more and more aware of all those, what you mentioned, behavioral and also thinking patterns that we have created within ourselves, to just become more and more aware of it. And while we do so, maybe also remember not to judge ourselves, because it has happened for a specific reason.
And funnily enough, we talked about pleasing people and wanting people to accept us and love us, but that also comes from inside, that when you are able to accept yourself and be your true self, then outside world will accept you as well. Because if you act different roles. People don't even have chance to know who you really are in the end.
Yeah. And totally. One side of myself that I've just very recently realized that I had a little bit of difficulty kind of embracing and accept within myself. And this maybe sound a little bit funny, but I feel like I have this a bit of childish side to myself. And I don't see that anymore as anything negative because I feel I'm in touch with my inner child. And also I feel the more that I embrace that part of myself, well, the easier it becomes to show it also out in the open. And by childish, I mean that, I don't know if childish is actually the right label for this part of myself, but it's like when I'm out in nature, I get like really excited, for instance, if I see a squirrel and I can just look at the squirrel for ages. Or if I see like a little flower, I can go down to the flower and just like look at it. Oh, look how beautiful this is. and yeah.
And now I remember what I was supposed to say earlier. I had a little blackout there.
Yeah.
Because how often how we talk to ourselves in our heads, that's the most harsh version of ourselves. That's when the ego jumps in. It's nagging you like, you shit, you don't know anything. And you do this all wrong, or you don't do enough, or, like you will never be anything. Like, what the heck you think that you're going to make this yoga business working? Like, it's never going to be your full-time job that will bring the bread to the table, and all sort of thoughts, what at least myself is going through in a daily, weekly basis. But it's good to remember that when we talk about the acceptance of others, it's often that we are the most judgmental, the most harsh people to ourselves.
Yeah.
And once we find that love from ourselves and accept ourselves, then it's
totally. Yeah. Self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Maybe the most difficult part, but the most rewarding.
Yeah.
If we are able to find a little bit more acceptance towards ourselves.
That's true. And then it all comes back to that inner peace and alignment within your inner self, within your heart intelligence.
Yeah.
That it comes from inside. All the happiness, acceptance, love first comes from inside, and then outside world is reflecting to that.
Yeah. And really I think often I hear also other people say that or people maybe are afraid that am I now being selfish if I really care for myself, if I really put my own needs first. And okay, I know like if you have children, it's and other people around in your life, you have to make some compromises. But in general, like how far are we taking this? Like how far are we taking it that we are compromising for our own inner peace and our own well-being for other people? So like I think we are taking it a little bit too far sometimes, actually, quite often.
And actually, especially in our job, when we're working with the well-being industry, we are coaching people how to look after themselves, how to live the life its fullest. It doesn't work that way, that you are all burned out by yourself and you talk about these things, but you don't follow them through in your daily life. Because what we think that this heart intelligence is, it's your physical body and your mind being interconnected within your inner wisdom. And by this I mean physical well-being, not just the physical activity that you do yoga or go running or something, but everything, like how you sleep, what you eat, what you consume, even then it comes to mental level, like what do you watch from telly, what do you read from papers, do you read shitty gossip magazines, get all that negative energy from there, that all comes to your energy as well.
Yeah.
So it's a really comprehensive, huge thing. Like not only that, okay, I look after myself, I eat healthy, I run every day, or I even meditate, but it's also everything what happens with us, the people with whom we hang out, what we surrounded, how we consume, how we treat the nature, everything. And then through that meditation and even breathing or anything, what works for you, you will be able to find that peace inside, find that state where you actually get your physical, mental, and spiritual body aligned as one whole thing.
Absolutely.
You're listening to the Heart Intelligence Ambassadors podcast.
So what I wanted to add also to this, what we feel also a part, but this heart intelligence. And I think it comes down to that all of us, we have these certain qualities within us. And I like to think that it's the qualities of the heart. And a few of them, or the most important ones, would be that we have all of us have inside of us compassion, we have kindness, we have understanding, and we have forgiveness, and we have love. All of us have those qualities within us, and the more we can kind of cultivate these qualities within us, the closer we will come towards our true self, to the heart intelligence. And I think the most important is what we just mentioned perhaps a little bit earlier, is that we try first of all to give these qualities towards ourselves. So Liisa, you talked about all these thoughts that we have about ourselves, this voice inside of us, that's sometimes very harsh, this inner critic that we have inside of us, that we can call it's the ego mind that's speaking very nasty words sometimes and not uplifting at all. So maybe there we can start.
Ego is a bitch.
Ego is a bitch, totally. So like, what can we do? Like, can we really find this compassion and love and forgiveness and understanding and kindness and love towards ourselves?
Yeah.
In daily life, like we all make mistakes, like really huge mistakes sometimes. And can we in that moment at some point find forgiveness towards ourselves?
That's true. And I kind of, now that you mentioned that, I'm thinking, I kind of feel that I have put myself in a really challenging situation in terms of, for example, finances at the moment, just because I have tried to, well, it all comes together what we have talked earlier, like I have tried to please other people and maybe uplift their peace of mind by thinking that if I just work a little harder, I'll just look after this, okay, I'll take responsibility financially from this and that, because that's my fault, that, like, that I don't want to cause any hassle or any trauma. So one of my biggest challenges is that I try to avoid conflict, and that's why I keep pleasing people. I want people to love me and think I'm so nice and great and this and that, but there is also that thing in the background. I've just only learned recently that I try to avoid conflict because I hate it. Like hate is a strong word, but I rather be in peace with everyone. But it's not, again, it's not authentic. It's not real if I put myself down by trying to maintain someone else's inner peace, which again is creation in my own head.
Yeah.
It's not expectation from outside.
Right.
It's my expectation in my own head.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear.
You're listening to Your Heart Intelligence Ambassadors.
Yeah. So about people pleasing, and I've also done my fair share of that. And it was just very recently I've heard actually Anita Morjani speak about it. And it made sense to me that both Liisa and me, we are quite sensitive to pick up other people's feelings and emotions and energies. So when you feel other people's feelings and emotions and energies, you take it like a kind of, you feel it in your own body, and it can become quite heavy.
And sometimes you even think they are your own thoughts, your own feelings.
Totally. And then you realize, no, I'm totally fine. This is not my feeling. It's that person's feeling. Totally fine. And at home sometimes I can be totally in a good mood, and then suddenly someone else walks in the room and I have picked up in a nanosecond the other person's feeling and emotion. I wonder what the hell just happened. But I think that's one way to understand oneself also better about the people pleasing. Because when you feel other people's emotions and feelings in yourself, you actually want other people to be happy, because you have it's so much easier than for yourself to be around that person. So it's so easy to go into that mode. Oh no, I don't tell actually now how I truly feel. I feel crap, or I feel upset or something. I just put up with this, and try to uplift myself.
And I even sometimes, or actually quite often, find myself apologizing, even in the end it should be someone else apologizing, but I take a blame because I think it's easier than be in a conflict with someone else. However, that can be a really not really a good thing to do, because then other people, we might talk about all these things later on, but I'll just say quickly that when you actually start taking responsibility from someone else's life, that actually might be making their life harder in a way, that they may have some learning curves they should be dealing with and they should learn from them. But then when you take a blame or you take a responsibility out of them, then they don't need to deal with that, and they are like, okay, sweet. And so they kind of forgive you, but in a way, do you know what I mean?
I think I know what you mean. And I had, or maybe a little bit the same, like I had a friend, and we were actually really good friends. And but the thing was that we were, when we were talking over the phone call started to turn into this completely just complaining. And we would complain about our lives, and we would complain about other people. And at some point I started to feel, no, this really doesn't feel good. And so I started to kind of stop it from my side. So it went into this mode that I was listening, still just listening to my friend complaining about another person she had in her life. And I felt at some point that I cannot do this anymore, because of course I wanted to be there for her, but how much of that, like when it's okay to be in a bad place in your life, and it's okay sometimes, just it's a fine line between complaining and just easing your heart as well. I feel it's a very fine line, but the line is maybe that if you are not willing to grow as a human being through your own experiences, then it perhaps just stays as complaint in a way. If you're not willing to try to find solutions, then it's not easy anymore. And then I couldn't do the phone calls anymore. I couldn't do it anymore.
And it's quite a lot. yeah, it's a fine line. What is, well, everything in relationships and personal chemistries is pretty, in a way, fine line that, you know, where, for example, you are supporting someone, but when it starts turning around as you just taking all the crap from other person, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But also it's a fine line in the sense that, okay, when you actually have to look into the mirror, apologize, or maybe it's like, because it's never really that black and white. If there is two people in a conflict or 3 or 4 or whatever, it's always, it's not one exact way of looking things, because every person has a different perception to the things.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of trying to explain here what I said earlier, that you know, you take responsibility for someone else. Like, often that happens, but obviously I don't mean that it's that black and white, that there wouldn't be nothing wrong with me.
No.
But
No.
like, but I tend to do that, and necessarily it doesn't help that person, and then later on something bigger shit comes up. And
Yeah. Actually, yeah, and I had this I think it's 10 years ago. It's more than 10 years ago already. I had this experience where someone did the same to me. They got fed up with my complaints, and I was actually.
And it's really hard to be around the person if someone is really negative and always only complaining.
Yes, it's difficult.
Because that's the energy that then comes to other person's energy as well.
And that's the place where I was in like 12 years ago. I was in a really bad place in my life at that time. Actually, very, very upset and depressed and all kind of that. And I didn't see too much light in my life at that point. And I probably was complaining a lot. And I was, at some point, I was staying with a friend. I lived in her little one-room apartment, and I think I was there for a couple of months, and until she just told me that, Monika, you have to find your own place. And at that moment, I was really upset with her, that how can she do like this to me? How can she turn her back on me like this? But now I look at it back, she was doing me a favor to help me step back on my own feet.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there is always two sides, and what we might experience and see negative at the moment, later on it can turn around to be a empowering thing to ourselves. Like, for example, what I feel right now, I mentioned earlier that finances situation, and it's kind of when you have to really step up on your game and deal with that shit what you have created around you, then you might as well grow. And it's like people can come and save you, people can come and do that for you, but then I wouldn't learn my lesson, what I'm supposed to learn in life. And I've been there before.
Yes.
My parents, one of my really good friends, has saved my ass in a situation earlier.
Yeah.
And then I freed myself from a situation, and out of the blue, I started getting back into it because I went in for being a full-time entrepreneur and just trying to take care of everything, trying to, whatever, long story.
Yeah.
We might talk about it more another time. But getting myself into that situation again, and now I'm like, okay, this is third time, this is last time. I gotta sort my shit out. And and now I start realizing all these thought patterns, behavioral patterns, where it comes from, why I always end up doing these stupid decisions or something doesn't,
And isn't that's how it works, really? Like, if we talk about soul lessons that we, all of us, that we have, that we can learn, that they keep on repeating and popping up in our lives until we learn it.
And tell you what, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, 'cause that's what I mean, that sometimes someone doing a good thing and helping and supporting someone turns out being not so good thing later on because person doesn't need to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
And then later on it comes even as a bigger event that they then really need to sort out before they can move on.
Totally. So everyone is really, it's like, well, responsible for their own life.
Yeah.
And responsible for own behavior and responsible for everything. So, and this responsibility, we shouldn't take away from other people either by trying
that's
to
what I tried
pamper
to
too much or trying to take care of the other person too much.
And I realized that I tend to do that all the time because I want everyone to be happy and I want to please them. And, like it's a little bit fucked up.
Well, I think it's a fine balance.
Yeah.
It's a fine balance to find.
And again, it comes back to yourself. Like when you in balance within yourself, then you are strong enough also let other people to have their own path and also stay in your power because often it's giving your personal power out to somewhere else. Not that anyone would take it, but at least I'm again talking about myself. I have totally given it out by creating those expectations in my head. That, okay, this person expects this. I need to behave like this. I need to do this.
Oh, yes.
And then you might think that, that person is such an asshole and how they treating me like this. But in the end, of course, there are cases where people are assholes. But most often when it's two people or a couple of people in some sort of circumstances and there is conflict, it often also comes lots from everyone's own head because they have created some particular expectations to themselves or someone else or and anyway, but most likely I recognize in my situation that no one is not a bad person around me. I have just created all the expectations in my head, how I need to do and how I feel that people have treated me. And I guess they have just done best in their situation. I have done best in my situation.
Yes, of course.
And now I'm in a situation where I actually have to forgive to myself that I have got myself into this mess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Heart Intelligence Ambassadors podcast.
Do we still have something to say about boundaries and personal boundaries?
Again, coming back to yourself, to your inner peace, to your inner self. It's also your personal inner boundaries. Before, of course, you need to set up the boundaries to the outside world because as we have spoken here, you have to create those boundaries, expectations. But if you give them away, if you give your personal power away, there always is situations, circumstances, people who may take advantage of that as well. So.
Yeah. And it's not easy always to put those personal boundaries because when we sometimes are a little bit afraid of conflicts between other people and ourselves. And so it requires actually to take that courage to actually speak up and say like, hey, this is how far I'm allowing other people to speak to me or act towards me. And sometimes you just have to, I find it actually sometimes very difficult to actually speak up and say that, no, you cannot treat me this way.
Yeah, this is not cool.
No, it's not cool. And then it sometimes goes to this that I'm holding it for some time inside of me. And then it just one day, the water in the glass starts to pour over, so to speak. And it's just like, no, now I had too much. And then it's easier to start to speak.
Yeah, that's same because I feel like I've been a couple of times in situations where I've been holding back, just pleasing, sucking up, not saying how I really feel. And then when the glass is full and starts overloading, then I might actually don't say it super nice way anymore, which is not cool either.
No, yeah.
So I've, because then there is like first you that nice person pleasing everyone, always doing, always, and everyone might think, yeah, Liisa will take care of it, and she's always she's not gonna be, she don't mind. And then one day when I start minding,
yes,
it just all comes out like,
and
then you might say things quite strong and harsh, and I'm not proud of it. It's not nice thing to do. It's not cool. You should be able to stand your ground, be yourself, set your boundaries to yourself and others, and then follow through. But
and sometimes
it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And sometimes I hear back, well, Monika, why didn't you tell me earlier?
Exactly.
But then I'm starting to think, like, have I been aware enough of how I really feel inside? That's another question. I haven't perhaps been like totally, completely aware of how I feel and acknowledge those feelings that I have inside, that this really hurts me, that please don't do and say like that.
And because coming back to ego mind, it is often ego who is telling us that, don't be such a wimp, like, come on. Just suck it up, like, that's just in your head, like it's not really happening, like, things like that. I've noticed myself to go through, I'm like, no, it's not so bad. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not, seeing this from other person's side, or you just easily start talking yourself down as well, because you're like, no, maybe she or he is actually treating me okay. It's just me who is now being little funny with this. I'll just let it go. Like, I don't need to bring it up.
And sometimes you I think that sometimes you also have to do that, to just, okay, I let it pass. I let it go. Like, for instance, if you are, that it's obviously that this is just a one-time, like, occasion, like you are maybe driving your car and someone, does something stupid in the traffic, some other driver. And then you can just, it's so obvious, it's just for that one little moment that you can just think, okay, I just let it go. I don't need to show my middle finger to that other person.
And also sometimes you may have to let those people go, because sometimes you just never gonna find the same level in understanding. Like you think water, another one thinks fire, and well, this is a funny example, but anyway, if you know what I mean, like other person thinks this way, other person thinks this way, and you just know that, okay, these are my personal values. This is how I feel. This is how I see this. Another person might have a different perception, different understanding, and it's never gonna come together. You can compromise for a while, but it's not going to work in a long term.
No.
And then you're just in a situation that, okay, we must agree that we disagree. And then move on and get over it. Like, then you don't need to force yourself to be in someone's company or work with someone or be whatever in a whatever relationship is. Like, if it's just because you can't compromise, like you cannot compromise, but the other person cannot compromise, because then it's not serving anyone. Really. Like, you can do it for a while, and you can trying to, if it's a conflict, that you can still find resolution or solution. But if it's clearly not, then you might even have to let people go
from your life. Absolutely. If the values are, as you said, like the sun and the moon, then it's just we have the right to choose who we hang around with, and also that's a part of setting the boundaries for ourselves, that we can choose. And it's also about caring for your own inner peace. And it's not selfish.
And now we come back to that. What is shaking your inner peace? Maybe we'll let you to digest that for a while, and we'll talk about it more later.
Alrighty. Should we wrap it up here?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
And thank you for your attention, and thank you for listening. And please do let us know your thoughts and experiences about this topic that we have talked about today. Hope to see you soon, and hope to talk with you more.
Thank you so much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining. find us on www.heartintelligenceambassadors.com.